Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, you're going to learn how to properly prep and seal your terracotta pots before painting them, so all your hard work doesn't go to waste. So the first step before we paint our terracotta pot is we're going to take a paper towel and we're just going to clean it off from all the dust and debris on our pot. The second step is we're going to seal our terracotta pot. So basically, I'm going to show you the difference. Here is an unsealed version. This is the raw terracotta pot, and this is one that's dried and sealed. So you can see that the one that's not sealed is a little bit rough and sandy, and then the one that's sealed is smooth and it has a little bit of a sheen to it. So that's the visual difference between a terracotta pot that's not been sealed and one that is sealed. Now, the reason we want to seal a terracotta pot is because the nature of the material. So anytime water gets in the pot, or if you have a plant that's sitting in the pot and you're watering it, it's going to get absorbed right into the walls of your terracotta pot. The material is super porous. And basically what can happen is if you don't seal it and you have like a paint design on the outside, is the water could seep from the inside of your pot all the way to the outside wall and cause the paint to peel. So you don't want your hard work going to waste, and just sealing it would save you all that headache. So the sealer that I've chosen here is called Folk Art All-Purpose Sealer, and I did a little bit of research before buying this because I had some requirements. I wanted to first make sure that the sealer was made for terracotta. And then also I wanted to make sure that it was as non-toxic as possible. So the label here, when I read it, it said prepares and seals porous surfaces such as wood, terracotta, canvas, and paper for a smooth paint application. So that was good because it's actually made for terracotta. And also here it said that it's non-toxic and made for indoor and outdoor use, which was great. Some of the reviews I read on other terracotta pot sealers, there was one that was a spray can version, and that one people had mentioned that has a really strong chemically smell and you have to do it outside. One thing to note with this one, although it's not as strong, there is still some smell of the fumes. So what I did was I painted it inside, but I cracked open a window and let some fresh air in while I was sealing it. But once the sealer is dried, there's no fumes left. Another thing to mention is that I was reading somewhere that once you've sealed your terracotta pot, and then you apply your first layer of acrylic paint, your base layer, you should be using less paint compared to painting on a raw pot because it's so porous and absorbs much more paint. So I wanted to test that theory, and what I found was I didn't notice a huge difference. So I used about the same amount of paint doing my base layer on a raw terracotta pot versus a sealed pot, and I just wanted to mention that to you. I just want to also mention that there's a couple of situations where you actually don't need to seal your pot and you can skip ahead and just paint on it straight. So anytime you're going to be keeping it indoors on a shelf without any water exposed to it, you don't need to seal it and you can paint straight away. Anytime you're going to have a plant in it, for example, and you'll be watering it, or you're going to be keeping it outside, then you definitely want to seal it with a layer or two of sealer and then paint over top. All right, now we're going to get to actually sealing this raw terracotta pot, and I'm going to show you how I do it. So for this folk art sealer, you just need to gently shake it to make sure it's all mixed, but not too vigorously, because then there's like air bubbles and then it won't go on smoothly. And then I'm just going to pour it in my plate here, and then I'm going to take a clean dry brush and then my raw terracotta pot. And the way I like to do it is I like to put it over my fist like that, and then I take some of that sealer, and then I'm going to use the same direction to seal it. So I'm going to do up and down strokes, and I'm not going to paint the top of it just now. I'll do it later and I'll show you why. So for now, we're just going to paint, and it's very, very liquid. So if you have too much on your brush, just tap it off, and you're just going to use up and down strokes to get that on. And the nice thing here is because terracotta is so porous and dry, you can see exactly where your sealer is being applied, and it dries pretty fast, the first layer. because it just gets soaked up right into the terracotta. I'm just gonna do that all the way around the pot. Once you've done the outside of the pot, what I usually like to do is I have a piece of wax paper here. I like to place it down, and remember we haven't painted or we haven't sealed the bottom of it. We're gonna place it down like that on wax paper, because I did this on newspaper when I was doing my pots earlier, and I found that the little bit of sealer at the bottom, it stuck to the bottom of my pot, and the newspaper got stuck at the bottom. It was very difficult to take off, so wax paper is not it. So wax paper prevents that stickiness issue. So I'm going to put it down like that, and then I'm also going to seal the inside of my pot as well. So I'm just going to do the same thing, use those up and down strokes in one direction to get that sealer on, and paint the bottom to the bottom of the pot and the rim as well. We don't want to forget the rim. So once we're done doing our first layer of the terracotta pot, what I'd like to do is leave it to dry. And then what I do is I flip it over upside down, and I'll I'll seal the bottom of the terracotta pot. And then I will leave that to dry. Now, once the whole pot is dried, I'll flip it back over and do another layer in the same way. So I'll do the front of the pot, the inside of the pot, leave it to dry, flip it over, seal the bottom of the pot.